Welcome back, Money Hunters. Police Garlight in today's episode. We're revealing the 4 most valuable coins that collectors are paying huge prices for right now. These coins may look ordinary, but in rare condition, they can be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Stay locked in, because one of these hidden treasures could be sitting in your pocket or coin jar at this very moment. Let's uncover the value and turn knowledge into real cash potential. Moneybag Fire. The 1970 Lincoln Memorial 1 cent remains one of the most fascinating modern-era American coins in the world of numismatics, especially when rare varieties and high-grade examples are considered. Although millions of these pennies were struck by the United States Mint, only a tiny fraction possessed a combination of rarity, condition, and historical intrigue necessary to command extraordinary prices. Collectors are especially drawn to the famous 1970 small date variety, double die examples, and pristine mint state specimens that represent the pinnacle of preservation. Over the decades, the coin has transformed from an ordinary pocket change cent into a serious collector's prize, with elite examples selling for thousands of dollars at major auctions. Its enduring popularity comes from its connection to American history, the iconic Lincoln design, and the thrill of discovering valuable varieties hidden among common circulation coins. The historical background of the 1970 Lincoln Memorial Cent adds greatly to its appeal. The Lincoln Cent series itself began in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President S. birth, making it the first regularly circulating U.S. coin to depict a real historical figure. By 1970, the Lincoln Memorial reverse design introduced in 1959 was already well established in American commerce. The United States was experiencing social change, economic shifts, and the continuing influence of the space age, and coin collecting had become increasingly popular among ordinary Americans. Pennies from the San Francisco Mint, Philadelphia Mint, and Denver Mint circulated widely, but certain San Francisco issues developed unusual characteristics that later became legendary in numismatic circles. The 1970 cent therefore occupies an important transitional period in American coinage, representing both mass production and the growing collector market that flourished during the late 20th century. Among all versions of the coin, the 1970 small date Lincoln cent stands above the rest as the most famous and valuable regular issue variety. At first glance, the coin appears ordinary, yet subtle differences in the date distinguish the small date from the more common large date version. On the small date variety, the 7 in the date sits level with the other numbers, and the word Liberty often appears weakly struck. These differences may seem minor to casual observers, but they are enormously important to collectors. The small date variety became highly sought after because relatively few were produced compared to the large date version, especially in superior condition. When certified in gem mint state grades such as MS67 Red or higher, these coins become exceptionally rare and can command astonishing premiums in the marketplace. The artistic design of the 1970 Lincoln cent contributes significantly to its collector appeal. The obverse features a dignified portrait of Abraham Lincoln created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, a design praised for its realism and elegance. The reverse depicts a Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, with a tiny rendering of Lincoln visible between the central columns. This remarkable detail makes the coin unique among U.S. circulating issues, because the same individual appears on both sides of the coin. The coin is composed primarily of copper, containing 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it the rich reddish appearance that collectors value highly in uncirculated condition. Measuring 19 millimeters in diameter and weighing 3.11 grams, the set may be physically small, but its historical and artistic importance is immense. Coins retaining their original fiery red luster are especially desirable because copper surfaces naturally darken over time. Condition plays a critical role in determining the value of any 1970 Lincoln cent, and this is particularly true for rare varieties. Most examples found in circulation exhibit wear, discoloration, scratches, or environmental damage, greatly reducing their desirability. However, coins preserved directly from mint rolls or original sets can survive in extraordinary condition. Professional grading services such as Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and Numismatic Guaranty Company, NGC, use detailed grading scales to evaluate these coins, with grades ranging from poor 1 to mint state 70. Even a 1-point difference at the upper levels can mean thousands of dollars in value. For example, a 1970 small date graded MS68 Red may sell for several $1,000s, while a lower grade example may only bring a fraction of that amount. This dramatic difference illustrates how preservation and rarity combine to create substantial market demand. Error coins and unusual striking varieties further increase excitement surrounding the 1970 Lincoln Cent series. Collectors actively search for double dies, off-center strikes, repunch mint marks, and die cracks associated with this year. Some double die obverse examples show noticeable doubling in the inscriptions and date, making them especially desirable among specialists. Proof coins struck at the San Francisco Mint can also contain rare varieties, including cameo and deep cameo examples with frosted devices and mirrored backgrounds. Because error coins are often discovered years after entering circulation, new finds occasionally emerge from old collections or bankrolls, keeping enthusiasm alive within the hobby. The possibility that an apparently ordinary penny could actually be a rare variety worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars adds an element of treasure hunting that continues to attract new collectors. In today's numismatic market, values for the 1970 Lincoln Cent vary dramatically depending on type, condition, and certification status. Common circulated examples are usually worth only face value or slightly more due to copper content, but rare varieties can achieve remarkable prices. A circulated 1970 small date might sell for $50 to $200 depending on condition, while uncirculated red examples can reach $500 to several $1,000s. Elite certified specimens in top registry quality grades have exceeded $10,000 at auction when exceptional eye appeal and rarity align. Proof versions with strong cameo contrast are also highly collectible and frequently command premium prices. Market demand remains strong because Lincoln Cents are widely collected across all budget levels, allowing both beginner and advanced collectors to participate in the series. The continuing popularity of Lincoln coinage ensures steady interest in rare 1970 varieties. The 1974 Lincoln Memorial 1 cent remains one of the most fascinating modern-era American coins for collectors who specialize in rare copper cents, high-grade registry pieces, and dramatic minting errors. Although millions of these coins were produced for circulation, a tiny number of exceptional examples have become surprisingly valuable in the numismatic marketplace, especially those struck in pristine mint condition or featuring unusual minting anomalies. What makes the 1974 cent particularly attractive is the contrast between its ordinary face value and the extraordinary prices that elite specimens can command today. For many collectors, the excitement lies in searching through common circulation coins for hidden treasures that could potentially be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The coin's enduring popularity also stems from the timeless image of President Abraham Lincoln, whose portrait has appeared on the cent since 1909, making the series one of the most collected in United States history. Exceptional 1974 Lincoln cents certified in top grades by professional grading companies continue to attract strong demand because truly flawless examples are remarkably scarce despite the enormous overall mintage. The historical background of the 1974 Lincoln Memorial Cent places it within an important transitional era in American coinage and economic history. Minted during a decade marked by inflation, rising metal prices, and changing mint production methods, the 1974 cent represents a period when the United States Mint was still producing pennies primarily from a bronze composition consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. This composition would later change in 1982 due to escalating copper costs, making pre-1982 copper cents especially popular with collectors today. The coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint, with proof versions also produced for collectors. The obverse design featured Victor David Brenner's classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse displayed the Lincoln Memorial created by Frank Gasparo. The 1974 issue did not commemorate a specific national anniversary, yet became historically significant because it belongs to the final generation of traditional heavy copper cents before the eventual transition to copper-plated zinc coinage. During the mid-1970s, Americans were also approaching the bicentennial celebrations of 1976, which increased public interest in coin collecting and helped fuel demand for circulating coinage from the era. From a design perspective, the 1974 Lincoln Memorial Cent combined simplicity with strong symbolic meaning. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln faces right with the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1974. Brenner's portrait is widely considered one of the most recognizable images in American numismatic art and remains deeply associated with honesty, perseverance, and national unity. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., an architectural tribute to the 16th president and one of the most iconic monuments in the United States. Remarkably, careful examination reveals a tiny representation of Lincoln seated within the memorial itself, making the coin unique because it effectively depicts the same historical figure on both sides. The coin measures 19 millimeters in diameter, weighs approximately 3.11 grams, and has a smooth edge. In lower circulated grades, many examples appear dull or heavily worn, but high-grade mint state pieces display vibrant luster, sharp details, and attractive red coloration that dramatically enhance their appeal and market value. Among collectors, the most desirable 1974 Lincoln cents are usually those graded at the highest levels or featuring notable mint errors and varieties. Because the coin was heavily circulated, locating examples with flawless surfaces, full mint brilliance, and no contact marks is extremely difficult. Coins graded MS68 Red or higher by professional grading services, such as the OR, are genuinely scarce and can command substantial premiums. Some collectors also search for double dies, off-center strikes, clip planchets, or die cracks associated with the 1974 issue. One of the most famous and controversial stories connected to the 1974 cent involves the rumored existence of aluminum test cents struck by the United States Mint during experiments to reduce production costs. Although these aluminum pieces were never officially released for circulation and remain legally restricted, their legend has added intrigue to the 1974 date and contributed to heightened collector fascination. Error collectors especially value unusual examples because every minting mistake creates a coin that is effectively unique. Condition plays an enormous role in determining the value of a 1974 Lincoln Memorial cent. Most circulated examples remain worth only a few cents, but the difference between a worn coin and a gem-quality specimen can be dramatic. Coins displaying original red mint luster are significantly more desirable than brown or faded examples. In the grading system used by professional services, terms such as red RD, red-brown RB, and brown BN. The 1975 edition of the remains one of the most fascinating modern American coins for collectors who specialize in small denomination United States currency. Although it is not officially considered a bicentennial issue in the same way as the 1976 commemorative coinage, the 1975 Lincoln cent was struck during the build-up to the nation's bicentennial celebrations, giving it special historical interest among numismatists. Collectors are especially drawn to the coin because of the possibility of discovering rare mint state examples, dramatic mint errors, and elusive high-grade specimens that can command surprisingly strong prices at auction. While millions were produced for circulation, only a tiny fraction survive in pristine condition, making elite quality examples highly desirable. The coin's enduring popularity is also tied to the lasting admiration for President Abraham Lincoln and the iconic Lincoln Memorial reverse design that defined American cent coinage for half a century. The historical context surrounding the 1975 Lincoln Memorial cent adds significantly to its appeal. The coin was minted during a transformative era in American history marked by economic uncertainty, inflation, and the approaching 200th anniversary of the United States. The Lincoln Cent series itself began in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, becoming the first regular circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. By 1975, the Lincoln Memorial design created by Frank Gasparo had already become one of the most recognizable motifs in American numismatics. Coins were struck at the end for proof sets. During this period, the United States Mint was preparing for increased collector interest connected to the upcoming bicentennial, leading many hobbyists to save uncirculated rolls and proof sets from the mid-1970s era. From a design perspective, The 1975 Lincoln Memorial cent maintains a classic appearance that made the series iconic among generations of Americans. The obverse features a distinguished portrait of President Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, with the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1975. On the reverse, Frank Gasparo's detailed depiction of the Lincoln Memorial dominates the design, with the tiny seated Lincoln statue visible between the columns under magnification. The coin was struck primarily from a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving it the warm reddish tone highly prized by collectors when preserved in original mint red condition. Measuring 19 millimeters in diameter and weighing approximately 3.11 grams, the coin represents the final era of traditional bronze U.S. cents before major metallic composition changes in the 1980s. High-grade examples displaying blazing red luster, sharp strikes, and minimal marks are especially coveted. One of the most important aspects of the 1975 Lincoln cent market is the distinction between ordinary circulated coins and exceptional mint state specimens. While billions of cents were produced in Philadelphia and Denver, relatively few survive in superb gem condition because the coins were heavily used in circulation. Collectors pay special attention to coins graded MS68, MS67, or higher by professional grading services. In these elite grades, even a common-date Lincoln cent can become extremely scarce. Fully red examples designated RD are considerably more valuable than brown or red-brown coins because copper naturally tones and darkens over time. This means that original bright red pieces from 1975 are increasingly difficult to locate, especially without spotting, stains, or carbon marks. Among the most valuable 1975 Lincoln cents are notable error coins and rare varieties. Off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, and broad strike errors attract intense interest from specialists. Certain double die obverse examples exhibit noticeable doubling in inscriptions and dates, dramatically increasing collector demand. In addition, some coins struck on incorrect planchets or with dramatic die breaks have sold for substantial premiums because of their unusual appearance and rarity. A particularly strong market exists for major mint errors authenticated by grading services such as AND. These organizations provide certification that reassures buyers regarding authenticity, grade, and marketability. The value range of the 1975 Lincoln Memorial cent varies enormously depending on condition and rarity. Ordinary circulated examples are typically worth only face value or slightly more because of their high surviving population. However, brilliant uncirculated coins with strong eye appeal can sell for several dollars to several $100s depending on grade. Certified MS68 Red examples have achieved auction prices ranging from several $100s to over $1,000 in exceptional cases. Rare proof coins from San Francisco with cameo or deep cameo contrast are also highly collectible, especially when perfectly preserved. Error coins represent the upper end of the market, with dramatic double dies or striking mistakes. The 1978 Lincoln Memorial 1 cent remains one of the most intriguing modern American coins for collectors who appreciate the balance between historical familiarity and hidden rarity. Although millions of these pennies were produced for everyday circulation, a small number of exceptional high-grade examples, rare mint state survivors, and dramatic mint era varieties have transformed the humble 1978 cent into a surprisingly valuable collectible within the broader Lincoln cent series. Designed during an era when the United States Mint was transitioning into modern large-scale coin production, the coin represents the final years before major composition changes arrived in the early 1980s. For numismatists, the 1978 cent offers an appealing combination of affordability for beginners and remarkable upside potential for advanced specialists seeking registry-quality coins or unusual striking anomalies. Its enduring popularity is tied not only to the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln, but also to the challenge of locating pristine examples with flawless surfaces and strong red coloration. The historical background of the 1978 Lincoln Memorial cent places it within one of America's longest-running and most beloved coin series. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the birth of the president, becoming the first regular-issue United States coin to feature a real historical figure rather than symbolic imagery. By 1978, the Lincoln Memorial reverse design, created by Frank Gaspar, had already been in use since 1959, replacing the earlier wheat-ear reverse. The coin was struck during a period of economic uncertainty in the United States characterized by inflation, energy concerns, and rapid commercial growth, all of which increased demand for low-denomination coinage in daily commerce. Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco all participated in production, with Philadelphia coins carrying no mint mark, Denver examples displaying a D, and proof issues from San Francisco featuring an S. Though the 1978 cent was never intended to be rare, the passage of time has elevated select specimens into highly desirable collectibles. From a design perspective, the 1978 Lincoln cent retains a classic appearance that made the series famous among generations of collectors. The obverse features a dignified right-facing portrait of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, accompanied by the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1978. The reverse showcases a Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., with remarkable detail visible on well-struck examples, including the tiny seated figure of Lincoln inside the memorial itself. The coin was struck primarily from a bronze alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, giving it the rich reddish-brown appearance collectors associate with vintage cents. Measuring 19 millimeters in diameter and weighing approximately 3.11 grams, the coin maintains the traditional specifications used for Lincoln cents prior to the copper-plated zinc transition of 1982. In gem mint state grades, the surfaces often display vibrant cartwheel luster and blazing red coloration that dramatically enhance visual appeal. What makes the 1978 Lincoln cent especially fascinating is the existence of several scarce varieties and mint errors that can command significant premiums. Double dies, off-center strikes, clip planchets, die cracks, broad strikes, and repunch mint marks have all been reported within the series. Among the most desirable are sharply struck double die obverse examples, showing noticeable separation in the lettering or date. While most circulated 1978 pennies remain worth only face value, certified error coins and ultra-high-grade specimens can reach extraordinary prices due to intense competition among registry set collectors. The rarity of pristine examples is often underestimated because a majority of 1978 cents entered heavy circulation immediately after minting, leading to contact marks, discoloration, and where that reduced the number of surviving gem-quality coins. Condition plays a decisive role in determining the value of a 1978 Lincoln cent coin's graded mint state 65 Red, MS68 Red, by major grading companies such as, and are relatively obtainable, but examples graded MS67 Red or higher become dramatically scarcer and more valuable. Collectors place enormous importance on original red surfaces because copper coins naturally tone and darken over time. A fully red 1978 cent with no spots, scratches, or carbon stains is significantly more desirable than a brown or red-brown example. Strike quality also matters. Weakly struck memorial details or dull luster can lower premiums considerably. Because so many coins were poorly preserved, the finest certified survivors have become elite collectibles within modern U.S. numismatics. The market value of the 1978 Lincoln cent varies widely depending on grade, coloration, and the presence of errors or varieties. Common circulated pieces are typically worth only 1 cent to a few cents due to their abundance. Uncirculated red examples from original mint rolls may sell for $1 to $10 depending on quality. However, gems the 2000 hold a fascinating place in modern American numismatics because it represents one of the final years of the long-running Lincoln Memorial cent series before the dramatic redesigns that appeared later in the decade. Although billions of these coins were produced for circulation at the facility in Denver, truly exceptional examples in pristine condition have become surprisingly desirable among collectors. The appeal of the 2000 cent lies not in ordinary circulated specimens, which remain common, but in the ultra-high-grade coins, rare transitional errors, sharply struck examples, and visually stunning red specimens that survive without wear or discoloration. In today's collector market, the finest known 2000 Lincoln cents have achieved prices far beyond their face value, transforming an everyday pocket change coin into a respected modern rarity for advanced registry set collectors. The historical significance of the 2000D Lincoln Memorial Cent is closely connected to the enduring legacy of and the continuation of the iconic cent design first introduced in 1959. The year 2000 also carried symbolic importance as the beginning of a new millennium, making coins from this era especially memorable for collectors and the general public alike. Produced at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark beneath the date, the coin was struck during a period when the United States economy was strong and coin production remained extremely high to satisfy commercial demand. The Lincoln Memorial Reverse, originally designed by, continued to symbolize national unity and remembrance, while the obverse portrait of Lincoln by remained one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history. Collectors today appreciate the 2000D cent as part of the final chapter of a historic design era that lasted half a century. From a design perspective, the 2000D Lincoln Memorial Cent combines simplicity with classic American symbolism. The obverse features Lincoln facing right, accompanied by the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 2000 with the Denver Mint mark. The reverse displays the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., with remarkably fine architectural detail for such a small coin. In well-struck examples, collectors can even distinguish the tiny seated figure of Lincoln between the columns of the memorial. The coin was struck primarily from a copper-plated zinc composition consisting of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, weighing approximately 2.5 grams and measuring 19.05 millimeters in diameter. While the metallic composition was standard for modern cents, the brilliance of fully red, uncirculated specimens gives the coin exceptional visual appeal. Coins with blazing luster, clean surfaces, and sharp details stand out dramatically compared with the heavily worn brown examples commonly found in circulation. One of the most important aspects of the 2000D cent's desirability is the challenge of locating examples in superb gem condition. Despite massive mintage figures exceeding several billion pieces, the vast majority entered circulation immediately and suffered contact marks, weak strikes, and environmental damage. Modern registry set collectors, however, compete intensely for coins graded MS68 Red or higher by professional grading services, such as AND. At these elite grading levels, even microscopic imperfections can drastically reduce value. The rarity, therefore, is conditional rather than absolute. While ordinary examples are abundant, ultra-premium specimens are genuinely scarce. This phenomenon has become increasingly important in modern coin collecting, where condition rarity often determines market worth more than overall mintage numbers. The market for rare 2000D Lincoln Memorial cents is especially strong when unusual mint errors are involved. Collectors actively search for double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, clip planchets, and transitional striking anomalies from the Denver Mint. Certain dramatic error coins have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on visual impact and certification. A sharply defined double die or a major off-center strike on a 2000D cent can command significant premiums because these minting mistakes escape quality control and entered circulation unnoticed. In addition, some satin-like specimens with exceptional strike sharpness and blazing copper-red coloration attract registry, collectors willing to pay impressive sums for top population coins. These elite pieces represent the upper tier of modern Lincoln cent collecting and are far removed from ordinary circulation finds. In terms of market value, the typical circulated 2000D Lincoln Memorial cent is usually worth only face value or slightly above it in bulk copper-plated cent accumulations. However, uncirculated examples with full original mint luster can range from a few dollars to over $50 depending on grade quality. Certified MS67 Red specimens often sell for notable premiums because of their scarcity in pristine condition. At the very highest known grades, particularly MS68 Red examples with flawless surfaces and superior eye appeal, auction records have reached several $100s, and in some cases over $1,000 when registry competition intensified. Error varieties can command even stronger prices, with dramatic mint mistakes sometimes selling in the $1,500 to $5,000 range depending on rarity and demand. These realistic but substantial valuations demonstrate how condition and uniqueness transform an otherwise common modern coin into a prized collectible. Collector demand for the 2000D cent also benefits from the immense popularity of the Lincoln cent series itself. Since the introduction of the Lincoln cent in 1909, generations of Americans have collected the series from circulation, making it one of the most widely pursued coin programs in numismatic history. The accessibility of the denomination encourages beginners to enter the hobby, while the complexity of varieties, errors, and grading challenges keeps advanced specialists engaged. The 2000D issue occupies an interesting niche because many collectors who grew up around the turn of the millennium remember encountering these coins in everyday commerce. This sense of familiarity, combined with the challenge of locating elite condition examples, has steadily increased interest in the coin among modern collectors and registry participants.